Hey, welcome to the 40 Finance channel. My name's Jeff Beers. Today we're going to be walking through the Seeking Alpha Premium platform. If you're subscribed to this channel, you know that I use the tools in Seeking Alpha all the time. And for this review here in 2022, I'm going to show you some of my best features, take a few minutes in each one, and give you a feel for what kind of information is inside in case you are trying to decide whether or not to subscribe to Seeking Alpha Premium. Now, I've been a member of Seeking Alpha for the past couple years, and I can honestly say it's a site that I visit several times throughout the week to do stock research, catch up on some different opinions and some different news sources, and I find it incredibly helpful, which is one of the reasons that I'm doing this review. And the good news for you as the viewer, if you get through this walkthrough and you want to learn more about the platform, my affiliate link is in the description and it gives you a significant discount on 1 year to the premium program. So it's a pretty good deal for both sides, and that's why I'm happy to promote it. You get value in the research that it offers. You save money when you sign up through my affiliate link, and I make a couple bucks to keep supporting my small stock market channel. All right, let's jump into this review, and I'll start off by saying there are 3 things that Seeking Alpha does incredibly well, and that is stock research, individual stock research across a multitude of different facets, and we'll look at that in a second. But basically, any angle that you can think of to review a stock and where it sits currently and compare it to any related competitors, Seeking Alpha is at the top of the list. The second thing that we'll see in here is the Seeking Alpha news service, which comes through as part of premium. And there's kind of 2 folds to this. Number 1, they cover stocks that nobody else covers, right? And number 2, they have their own staff. And when you connect this to a notification platform, whether you want app notifications or email notifications, you're going to get hand-curated news on just about any stock that's available out there. So obviously there's no shortage of websites that cover Apple and Google, right? But if you start digging deeper into some of the lesser known names that are still big companies, right? So I'm looking at my screen from here, I'm thinking about Intuit, Cisco, Costco, names like that. You're gonna get full coverage of anything that happens with those stocks, as well as Wall Street upgrades and downgrades that get published into a newsletter. Okay, and then the third thing that stands out is just the range of opinions that you can get all in one website. So instead of, you guys coming to my website where I'm going to have a distinct opinion on Apple per se, Seeking Alpha is a place where you can find multiple opinions on a single stock. So you have the valuation metrics, right, which sort of the data points. You have Wall Street analyst coverage. You have Seeking Alpha author coverage, which is essentially people who write for the site, financial advisors, people like me. And then you have a Seeking Alpha quant rating, which gives their own spin on where a stock stands. So I don't see a lot of stock market websites out there that include multiple different opinions on a stock. Most of them are selling a service where they're trying to talk you into one stock, buy, sell, hold, and just a single opinion. But here you will find multiple opinions and the rationale behind them. Now, what are we looking at here on this screen? So this is a portfolio that I made by hand, QQQ Holdings, and it represents the top 60% or so of the QQQ. And the reason that I went through the trouble of putting all these names in is because it allows me to dig into some of the features that I was mentioning before in terms of stock research. So when you look across this top bar here, you start to see the different ways you can break up all of these stocks next to each other, right? So let me just go to valuation for a second. So we have market cap, enterprise value, forward PE, forward PEG, price to sales, EV to sales, EV to EBITDA, price to book, price to cash flow. All of that is here on one page for all of these top holdings across the QQQ. So I happen to have a lot of QQQ, and when I like to come in and say, how is this looking? How are the top stocks looking as a group? I can come in here and I can sort the forward PE across all of them and try to get a view, an eyeball look at, hey, which ones are cheap, which ones are running a little bit hotter. And you can do the same thing on PEG looking forward, right? You can do the same thing on price to sales, which one has the lowest price to sales. And even price to cash flow, which obviously cash flow has turned into a very important metric for some stock researchers. It's built right into Seeking Alpha. You don't have to run your own cash flow calculation. Most of that information is right in here. And keep in mind, this is just the valuation tab, right? So we have whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just call it 12 different tabs that you can look at these companies. So this is the earnings one. It gives the EPS consensus estimate right off the bat, the revenue estimate, then it looks at the last quarter, what the EPS was when they announced their earnings, what was the surprise, positive or negative. Same thing on revenue. If you want to get into profitability, you're never going to see numbers like this on other websites, right? So this is Apple. You've got cash from operations, profit margin, EBITDA margin, free cash flow margin, and all of these numbers can be sorted. Let's see what this ownership is. Percentage of float, outstanding, insider shares, institutional shares, percentage of institutional investors. You have momentum. That gives you how things are performing in the last 10 days, 50 days, 100 days, so on and so forth. So this is basically the portfolio view, right? So I type this in manually, but if you link your brokerage account, your stocks will populate right in here. And Seeking Alpha uses the Plaid connection service, and it's got all of the top brokers. You see the ones that are listed here. I actually used Ally Invest, which is not one of the quick ones, but I went in and it gives you special instructions on how to connect Ally Invest. It's basically through an API key that you set up in your Ally account. Very simple, very easy, and then you plug it in over here. But for those of you that have Fidelity, Robinhood, Merrill Edge, Chase, whatever, you actually are just going to push a couple buttons using Plaid and your entire portfolio will be connected. And yes, there is drop downs. If you have multiple portfolios, you can delete certain ones, you can keep others. It's really up to you on how you want to do that. All right, and one last quick thing I want to show you while we're on this stock portfolio page. So just imagine that it imported all your stocks here. This is the Q's, but it can be yours. This Manage Alerts button lets you determine how you want to get alerts on each individual stock. So you can hit them all, right? But you can also unselect them all. Do you want to get the opinion articles? That's what they define as articles. Okay, news, which is done by Seeking Alpha, is factual, right? So it's just the factual information coming to you. So you get to select how you want to receive that, and then you get to select the delivery. How do you want to get this information? Do you want it to be on the mobile app, or do you want to get it through email? Okay, so there's more than one way to do this. If you don't want your phone to go off 600 times a day, turn the mobile off, turn it to email, and then your email box, you can make a special folder if you use Gmail. I do that, and then all your Seeking Alpha emails will be right in there. All right, now this is what a stock page looks like, obviously for Google. Those same 12 categories or so that we had on the portfolio tracker page are represented right here. So the only difference is they are an up-close perspective of one stock. So if we go to the growth tab, this is the quant formula that gives a grade to each of these categories. But you go through here, these are all as they relate to Google, revenue growth year over year, 41%. Then they provide the sector median, the difference to that, the 5-year average, and the current difference to that. And these kind of tables exist across here. And if you ever want to check on the peers, so if you want to do a quick comparison, it will put Google up against who they've picked as the closest comparisons. And then you've got everything stacked up across, multiple categories. Let's just say that those comparisons don't work for you. Even though they are automatically populated, you can come right in here. You can take out these ones that you don't want. It's no big deal. And then you can put in Apple. Okay, you can put in Amazon, whatever you want to do. And then you just press compare, refresh the screen, you're ready to go, and so on. All right, heading back here to the main stock page, let's look at the earnings columns. We have earnings coming up here at the end of April into May. It's going to be a very interesting earnings season in 2022, and nobody digs deeper into earnings than Seeking Alpha. Not to mention the historical perspective they provide you is absolutely invaluable, so let's take a look at that. So just in the summary slide, they show you what happened last year. They show you what is expected, so to speak, this year, including upgrades and downgrades. But perhaps the most valuable thing to take a look at here is the earnings estimates and revenue estimates. So you can get them by quarter. So this is consensus EPS estimates by quarter. It does include the high estimate and the low. And you can see here it goes fiscal 1 all the way out to 2024. But the thing about the 2024, or any time that you go longer in duration from today's date, you're not going to have as many analysts, right? So we've got 31 of them that are willing to make a bet on quarter 1 and say what they think will happen. But as time goes on, other people drop out. Same thing on the revenue side. You get the estimate, the consensus estimate, how much growth, the low point, the high point, and the number of analysts coming in on that. One of the things, if you watch my channel, I do all the time, I like to switch it to annual. I'm a long-term investor, so I like to look at things from an annual perspective, and you can do that relatively easily. So if we come down here, same thing, it's just that they added up for the year. So fiscal period ending December 2022, the EPS estimate is $115 as of today. Year-over-year growth, only 3%. Forward PE, they do the math for you, 22.54 if this number happens. You've got a low of 94, a high of 134 on the EPS line, 38 analysts. Go down to revenue. Again, December 2022, expecting about 17% growth on the consensus average, 5.69 on the forward price to sales, which is a handy number to have. And you can see how it breaks out in the years ahead. I mean, whoever wants to project 2031, good luck to them. But for the most part, even as a long-term investor, you're looking in this 2 to 3 years. If you're worried about value and am I buying this high, low, where do I stand right now? The next 2 to 3 years is about all you need to get a feel for today's price. Okay, heading back, I talked about analysis versus news, right? News is factual information that either comes from a press wire or Seeking Alpha's dedicated news staff, right? So if we click on this is just related to Google. You can see which tickers got tagged. Microsoft could face antitrust. They give you the story here. And the great thing about this, particularly I guess if you're interested in Microsoft, is if you had news alerts on, this would come right to your phone or right to your email. And those emails are set up so that they have the complete text or the bullet points, one of the two, for each article. So you do not always have to come back to the site as a premium user. They will get you that information right in your email, or your, if you get the mobile alert, then you're just going to go right to the app. All the information is going to be in front of you. Okay, heading back, on the other side of it is analysis. And these are independent folks who write for the site. Most of them have some sort of background, whether they're financial advisors, whether they run a financial firm of some kind. There's other people that are like me that are more or less hobbyists. But I guess the thing that I like most about the platform that allows for this, first of all these articles go through an editorial process. They have to be approved. There's no gibberish, no wackiness. People might have wacky opinions, in your opinion, but if they format the article correctly, they follow basic guidelines for grammar and such, then it makes it through. If it's complete garbage, it'll never make it on the site. So the best part about this is you can see that this author comes right out and makes an opinion, provides some different points, and this is a big part of Seeking Alpha, providing evidence for your statement. So, you see a lot of this where they'll grab different stats and stuff, and they basically share their thoughts, right? And say, here's why I think so. And what's interesting, for good or bad, is you typically get a ton of comments. This one has 50 comments on it. Now, some comments, like a Facebook, are going to be garbage, but I will say that the majority of them, 80%, have some kind of value in there. And it's value in terms of the opinion that was shared. So when you look through here, if you're like, hey, this guy makes a pretty good case for Google, right? And it sounds awesome. I guarantee you, if he used fake data, or if something just isn't right about the presentation, these folks are going to be on it, because most of them are hardcore investors who like to do this type of research as well. So it makes for, like I said, a very intriguing place to get different opinions on the same stock. All right, the last two things I want to call out here is the top stocks. These are sort of pre-sorted lists, right? So if we say top value stocks, it's going to take us to a pre-sorted list, and they'll give you some paragraph explanation of what it is. And then again, you're going to have those 12 columns or so that we've seen everywhere. And you're going to have the quant formula, which is Seeking Alpha's algorithm. I'm not much of an algorithmic trader, so I don't spend a ton of time on the quant formula, but it's obviously a good second opinion. Even if you are a valuation investor, it's good to see where the quant formula scores on it and at least try to figure out why it may or may not be good. Right next to it is the authors, so those that were writing the analysis pieces we just looked at. They have to say buy, sell, hold somewhere in that article, and Seeking Alpha adds all those scores up. And the closer you are to 5, the more that it is a strong buy. Things that come in a 3-ish are going to be holds. And then obviously, if you get a red, then they're suggesting there's more calls to sell. You also get the same thing for Wall Street analysts as well. Just sort of a buy, sell, hold, and Seeking Alpha does the math for you and tells you which way it's trending. All right, and the last thing here, the stock ideas. These are basically analysis articles written by independent authors who just throw out ideas. Very similar to what we saw with the Google Meta article, right? But we know that in this particular instance, it's a stock idea article. It's not just an overview of the stock. And 9 times out of 10 in these articles, you can see how strong the headlines are. These folks are going hard on their opinion. Like, they're coming in saying it's a buy, it's a sell. There's not a lot of like ho-hum in the middle. And then, like I mentioned, depending on your appetite for it, you give those articles a couple days to simmer, and you'll usually get a pretty good response, positive and negative, from the community. All right, guys, so those are my favorite features for Seeking Alpha Premium here in 2022. Happy to answer any questions you have about the platform. Just leave them in the comments. And don't forget to check out that special offer that's exclusive just for my channel. It's my affiliate link, and it's in the description. Gives you an opportunity to save 50% on a 1 year for premium. And at the same token, I believe that it is a 14-day no questions asked refund policy. So this is not a scam website where, you log in and pay and it's just full of crap. If you don't like it after a few days, just cancel it, get your money back, or I think actually you won't even be billed, is how they work it. But double check that on the details. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it's an awesome site, particularly for as cheap as it is in relation to some of these other services that are out there. So I think you'll like it. But regardless, thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Please give the video a thumbs up. We will see you on the next video.